Hi, I'm here with Berge Ayvazian to talk about small cells. So where are we on the hype curve between reality and total hype with the small cell market right now?
Well, Dan, as you know, small cells have been around a long time. We've talked about small cells probably over the past 5 years, and it's only now that they've become a priority, and it's important for operators to have a strategy around how they're going to deploy small cells in their network. And the reason is very straightforward. First of all, most of them are working on their LT deployment plans. They have a macro layer that's coverage oriented, right? They want to get a layer of coverage, and in most cases, there's not much capacity available in that coverage layer, and they know they're going to hit congestion very quickly because usage patterns end up spiking traffic very quickly. So what they're going to do is they're going to find those areas in the network that are vulnerable to congestion, and they're going to use small cells as problem solvers. And they're not going to do the same kind of blanket coverage that they do at a macro level. They're going to focus the small cells on where they have traffic problems and where they have the need to deliver customer satisfaction, where today they have disenchantment. They have customers who are unhappy with their experience. So let's take some examples, okay? So operators in the urban areas are working on indoor coverage, are working on the boundary between when you're out and about and when you go into a venue, when you go into a building, when you go into a train station or whatever the location happens to be. And that's where everybody drops everything, and people are sitting, they're using intensive amounts of 4G, and they're really at the edge of the network. And the second problem they're trying to solve is when, in fact, they're in a venue, they need to saturate that venue, whether it's a stadium or an office building. They need in-building coverage. And I think small cells are going to be ideal for those operators that have more than one spectrum band and can avoid using the same spectrum for macros and metros where they're going to have interference problems.
When do you expect LTE small cells to arrive on the market?
So most of the manufacturers now have a product line in the small cell domain. And the vendors are coming from two camps. One is the macro cell vendors who are scaling down to small cells and broadening their product lines to be able to address all these needs. And those are the reasonable players you would expect who dominate the macro marketplace. Then you have the microcell and picocell, and even to some degree femtocell specialists that are coming from the indoor environment, or coming from the Wi-Fi environment, and are adding LTE capability to what might otherwise be thought of as a hotspot. And so what we're starting to see now is a different kind of small cell which integrates Wi-Fi, 3G, and LTE into a single small cell. So now you have a variety of access vehicles, and in fact you have software in the small cell that makes it a smart cell. So now it knows, okay, you entered the range of the coverage of the small cell, and you're about to sit down and do a YouTube session. I want you on Wi-Fi. I don't want you on LTE absorbing my spectrum, which is precious. Other people who are moving and are going to be needing handoffs, we don't want them on Wi-Fi, right? Those people who are really going back and forth between voice and data, they may stay on HSPA+. So it's that kind of smart cell that has the knowledge and intelligence to know where to route this traffic, where to access the network, and that's the next generation.
So a canny operator could overlay some smart services onto this tiny radio infrastructure then?
Absolutely, and in fact, Heavy Reading just completed some research for a major vendor looking at adding a service layer to the small cell edge. And in fact, the term they used is edge cloud, right? Smart cell is what happens to the device, the cell itself. Edge cloud is the phenomena of bringing cloud-like capabilities to the edge of the network. What does that mean? Well, what are people doing? They're doing video. They need video optimization at the edge of the network. They need CDN functionality, caching at the edge of the network. So internet content, you don't have to go way back deep into the internet to find it. It's right there. It's cached near you, right? And on top of that, you have a diversity of access vehicles in the smart cell. So it's got the intelligence to segment traffic and use the right spectrum bands or the right access protocol for the right type of users. That smart cell, that edge network now is the smart edge, and that's where you're going to see the next generation of service capabilities being deployed.
So we've talked about some of the benefits of these small cells. What are some of the problems that operators might face deploying them?
So operators really have three different problems in planning their small cell deployments. The first one is a network optimization problem in which all of them have certain spectrum assets and the ability to use spectrum in a certain set of ways. And right now, many of them will have interference problems as they use the same spectrum for their small cell deployment as their macro cell deployment. And there are techniques to mitigate that interference, but the better approach is to use different bands, use complementary spectrum that's not going to create interference. The second problem is you need a business case that allows you to pay for the infrastructure and offset that against some OpEx. And what we've been able to model in our heavy reading study using the YROI 4G tool is the OpEx savings associated with using smart cells and cloud edge or edge cloud to accomplish the service benefits that I described. The third piece is how do I use this small cell to improve the customer experience, to mitigate churn, and to get customers to want to be retained and maintain their relationship with the carrier. Churn is the enemy of any carrier. And they want to maximize their preference by the subscriber. So now we're starting to see operators looking at the customer retention benefits that small cells will bring. That's revenue enhancement, and that's money.
Thank you so much for your time.
Dan, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for the questions.